Yeah! Let it burn! Strike the match and light the fuse. It's a high you'll never lose. Feel the heat from coast to coast. Do the one thing that matters most. Turn it up, this is the Smoke Podcast. The Smoke!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Smoke.
Welcome back,
Michael.
everybody.
I seen you dancing over there, Michael. That made my day, brother. It's gonna rock it out.
I had to
all
get
right,
over where they
everybody.
could see me.
Right, y'all. This is a special show for me. We have a fantastic guest for tonight, and I'm so excited. This young lady is going to be at our event next month in August, and her work is just amazing. I've been doing a little reading up and stuff, and I'm just excited to introduce Miss Mary Hampton. Hi, Mary. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Stan.
Welcome to the
Hello,
show.
Michael. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, ma'am. I have. I've really been excited about this show, and it's just, maybe I'm just one of those guys that like the movie industry, and anybody that can get into it and stay there and work that as their job has got to be the most special person.
Oh, well, listen, it's a dedication like any other dedication. My late husband said, if you can make a living doing something you love, then you're a really lucky person. A lot of people make a living doing something they tolerate, and then they find something on the side, a hobby or traveling or something like that really makes them happy. But I know he was very happy working as an actor, and I'm very happy working as an actor. And I've had a really good year this year, and I'm excited, to come to the show and meet some fans of mine, and meet some fans of my husband's, Jimmy, and meet you guys.
I really wish F Troop was one of my favorite things when I was a kid. And, I never thought that, I would even get to meet someone that was associated with that. Nevertheless,
well, thank you.
His wife.
F Troop was great.
Right.
It was Jim's first, it was his first series regular role. And a lot of people would ask him, what was the most favorite thing you ever did? And of course, he was part of a Screen Actors Guild nominated cast. He was nominated for Golden Globe for Caretaker in the Longest Yard. He won a Bronze Halo. He did so much, but he always came back to F Troop because he said it was like going to a party every day. He really looked forward to going to work.
Right. Yeah, I was a little kid, and I used to tell my mom, F Troop's coming on, and of course, I would sit there glued to the TV, and but that's just an amazing thing, and you have a big list of accomplishments that you have done, and
well, thank you.
Yeah, it's great. And we talk up our event, my wife and I do, and Michael as well. He's a big part of our event. And in fact, on the local radio, we have an ad running, and you're one of the main people that's part of the ad.
That's so nice. Thank you.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
we even talked about having her last year.
Yep.
But it was too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was too
late.
late.
Yeah.
But and people they'll come up to us and they say, wait a minute, I know that event. And then in fact today there was a gentleman and said Mary Hampton's going to be there. And I said, absolutely. And I said, you gonna come meet her? He says, absolutely, I'm gonna come meet her. And
awesome.
He mentioned Harold and Kumar, and
yes,
and the Lincoln lawyer. And,
Lincoln Lawyer. I did Lincoln Lawyer this year. 911, the original 911 with Angela Bassett. And I did a big commercial campaign for Panda Express. It was an international commercial, so it's shown everywhere, around the world. And then I'm in Los Angeles now, but I cannot tell you what I'm working on. But I am here for a couple weeks, and I can say that I'm working on a film, so I'm very excited about that. And then I've got another film that I'm going to be working on at the end of August, and I'm very excited about that. That one is going to be shot in a very, 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 very small town. I can't wait to get there. It's population, when I looked it up, it's population 46.
oh, wow.
That's small.
So that is small. I hope everybody stays in place. I keep looking and make sure it doesn't go down to like 45 or something. I'll feel bad.
Right. Yeah, that's a small place. That's kind of
That's
like
smaller than Skipperville.
Yeah, exactly.
Skipperville. How many people are in Skipperville?
A little more than that.
Probably
100.
Is there a Gilliganville?
Gilliganville?
Yeah.
No. I get it though. Skipperville, Gilliganville.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
That's
you.
cool.
They've got a Dollar General, they got a post office, and a gas station, and that's it. Drive
That's
right
all
through
you
it.
need. That's all you need.
Well, everywhere has a dollar store, a Dollar General, and there's probably at least 10 within 10 miles.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. Back when we were living in LA, there was it was like gas stations and stuff. They like put one right across the street from another one. You have an Exxon over here and a Quick Way over here or whatever, and you think, well, why did it put them right next to each other? So Jim was telling me that he needed a broom, and so he thought, I'm gonna go to the dollar store. And he walked in the dollar store and he found a nice broom, and it had good straw on it and a nice firm handle and everything. He looked across the street and he saw a 99-cent store, and he thought, well, I'm going to go over to the 99-cent store and see what kind of brooms they have. So he walked across the street to the 99-cent store, and he said, man, they had this great broom, and it had like a rainbow colored straw, and it had a pink, long pink handle, and it looked really good. And he thought about it, and he went back over to the dollar store and got the other broom, because you get what you pay for, You get that one?
Yeah.
And there was a hesitation. But the point is, it's really odd, because, they'll put a 99-cent store across from a dollar store, and you just think, why?
Everybody got to save a penny, right?
You got to
Save a
save
penny.
it.
Go
Well,
to the other store.
They don't make pennies anymore. The pennies are, I don't know why everybody doesn't change their prices to end with a nickel, or something.
Yeah, right.
So,
I was saying that same thing today.
mhm.
My wife I came in from work, which I'm retired now. Came in from work, and she said, there's stopped making pennies. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do with that big, huge jar of coins that you have? If they stop making them, then they're going to stop buying them. And she says, I have no idea. I said, well, what we can do is we can take those pennies and make necklaces out of them and sell them for 25 cents.
Mhm.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
She says, well, that's a lot of necklaces. I said, yep, we might want to get started. So,
Yeah, it's a shame.
yeah, we're not making necklaces right now, though. But it's a huge jar of pennies. And I think there's 4 nickels in the whole jar. All the rest of it is pennies.
Well, when we were kids, we all did that. We all, and I remember my dad, dropping his change in a jug, and then we'd all go down the bank and, then go out to eat or something,
Right.
But we all used to do that. So I don't know what's going to happen to all those pennies, but you'd think it's legal currency, so you'd think it'd still be worth something now. I don't think they can just say it's not worth anything, although they've done that before,
Yeah, definitely. Um, you know, I thought about taking it to a change machine and one of those things that you dump it into and see if they would take it. But my wife, she won't get rid of anything, so she saved it all. So now, you know, and I said, so maybe you can just take it to the bank and give it to them and let them put it in your bank account. She says they probably won't do that. So, but
Worth a try.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I want to say hey to all the Charleses in the chat. We have
I can actually
Charles,
see it now.
yeah, Charles Sherrod and Charles Jackson. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So all right, well that's cool. I just was into the penny thing. Um, so this is something now. Whenever I was young, and I'm from Wilmington, North Carolina. Do you know where that's at?
Absolutely. I love Wilmington.
It well, when I was coming out of high school, um, I'd always wanted to be a firefighter, but Dino De Laurentiis Studios came in. It's where they made Firestarter and Raw Deal and Maximum Overdrive, and I did some extra work for some of those, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be so exciting, you know, and the extra work, I waited eight, no, 12 hours for a 5 minute shot. And I'm like, wow, is this what being in the movies is, you know? Um, and then you stand on the street corner and let fast vehicles go by you. That 5 minute shot turns into 3 hours of shot after shot after shot after shot.
Every angle.
Yep. And so that's the reason my hat's off to you guys. I mean, you get to put up with that, and then you work hard for your money. I mean, it's not just something you go stand in front of a camera and do this and that, and you get your money. No, no, no. That's hard work.
Well, there's a lot of, it's not just the extras. I promise you, there's a lot of sitting around and waiting. And, things happen, and things get delayed and, you're just sitting there. There's a interesting story. Jim was very good friends with Billy Bob Thornton. And I, in his book, What and Give Up Show Business, Jim's book, he writes about working with Billy Bob on Sling Blade. But Billy Bob Thornton actually came up with the character of Carl, sitting in his trailer, waiting for the first AD to call him, say, we're ready for your scene now. And he was waiting and waiting and waiting. He just started making faces in the mirror. And he came up with the face of Carl. And that's where that character was born, was sitting there waiting in his trailer for, for time to go out and shoot a scene. So, that's something. I mean, otherwise, if it would have been faster, Carl may not have ever been born. So we're grateful for that.
Yeah. And Billy Bob Thornton, I like him too. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, very talented.
I'm always saying, you gonna eat them taters?
I wonder how many times people have come up to him and done that. When when you've got a character or a line, that you're famous for, people are going to come up to you all the time. People would come up, and I was always surprised. We did a lot of Comic-Cons, Jim and I, probably 15 or 20 a year. And people would come up and just, walk up to the table and just start reciting lines from Teen Wolf. And Jim's like, I can't even remember what my lines were, and they can remember. He actually, it's a funny story. He had done Teen Wolf, and he had done Teen Wolf 2, and his agent called him and said, Jim, I've got great news. They're going to do the Teen Wolf Saturday morning cartoon, and I don't know if either one of you remember that. And Jim said, great. When are they going to start? And his agent said, well, you've got to go down and audition. And Jim said, what? He said, I just got through playing the role in the both features, and I have to audition for the voiceover for the cartoon, and he did. He had to audition for that.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That's
It
kinda
is.
hard. Yeah.
It is.
Why not take a sure thing that you know that's going to work? And no. Yeah, well, that is crazy. For sure.
They'd be like, "That's
Um,
me, then right there. That's me."
Yeah.
Yeah, he said the little cartoon looked just like him, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
go figure.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy. So, can you tell everybody what your most challenging role that you've ever, played?
Okay, my most challenging role was the role of Mrs. Lee, Harold's mom, in the Harold and Kumar movies. And the reason for that is because Ed Helms and Rob Corddry were so hilarious that it was very, very difficult not to burst out laughing. And in particular, the scenes that stayed in the film. There were scenes that sometimes as an actor, you're in all these scenes, but they end up on the cutting room floor. But the scenes that made the movie in the conference room, where the parents are being interrogated by the FBI. It's or CIA. It's Ed Helms and Rob Corddry, and the directors basically had us do it on book, which means what the words on the page of the script. And then he just let those guys loose. And I want to tell you, it was so hard to keep a straight face because they are so, so funny. I was in the van on the way to set with Clyde Katsatsu, who played my husband. He's a fabulous, fabulous actor oh my gosh, Clyde's been around since 1970s. But Clyde was sitting in the front seat with the driver, and I was in the back seat with Ed. And we were driving to set for that scene in the conference room. And Ed's got his script, and he goes, "Oh no!" And his face just goes white. And we're like, "What's wrong?" And he said, "I actually have to speak Korean." And he said to Clyde, he said, "Can you help me with this script, Clyde?" And he said, "I'm Japanese, man." And so he turned to me and he said, "Do you know any Korean?" And I said, "Well, I know a little." And I said, I looked at the script and I said, "Here's what you're going to do. You're going to say these words phonetically, the way they're spelled. Only you're going to draw them out at the end. So you're going to say, "Chugamiya." And that's what he did. And best advice I could give at the time.
Wow. You did that very well, though.
Thank you. My mother
amazing.
was Korean, so I listened to her talk on the phone a lot to my aunts.
Gotcha.
But I'd have to say that was my most challenging because those guys were just so funny.
Yeah. That's funny. My wife is in the chat. She says, "Hello, everyone. I'm looking forward to meeting Mary in person."
Hi, I'm looking forward to meeting you too.
Yeah, her name is Teresa. And Richard Johnson, he's going to be there at the con as well. You'll like Richard. He's a paranormal investigator. He is probably one of the funniest people I know. I mean, he'll crack a joke in a sec, and but he's just good people.
I'm looking forward to meeting everybody there. And I'm, I love doing paranormal investigations. I've done a few. And Jimmy, who loved me more than anything and who'd do anything I asked him to, went on a few with me. So, and we met Keith Age at a Comic-Con, and Jim just fell in love with him. He just adored Keith. So he's a lifelong buddy.
Yeah, Keith, he speaks highly of him and you too.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Yeah, Keith's my buddy. I haven't talked to him in a few days. He's been really busy with a project and stuff. But yeah, I enjoy talking with Keith. He's full of information, and he will drop a joke in a heartbeat, and it might not be so clean, but it's a good joke, you know. So, but yeah, we had Keith last year, and we can't hardly wait to get him back. And you know, I've got to have his sodas and stuff that he wants, his Diet Mountain Dew and things like that. So we take care of Keith. We try to. You know, he's getting on up there, and
He's a big old teddy bear.
yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sure is, and one of the nicest people that you ever want to meet. And so we're blessed. To have him.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you know, and of course we're blessed to have you coming, and
Well, thank you.
it's gonna be fun. And are are you associated with Robert Mukes? You know
No.
Robert? No. Well, Robert is 6'10", and he's a big old guy.
Yeah,
And,
I'll say.
yeah, I talk to him, you know, a couple times a week. We're lining up his airplane ride, you know, and you know, he has to sit over by an exit or something like that, so he has some room to stretch his legs out and stuff. So I'm 6'3". I can only imagine being. I mean, I've got a
Yeah.
son that's 6'6", and he complains about it. His dad, I hate being this tall, and
Oh,
I can only imagine, you know, being like Robert. But we're
What's
excited
he
to
got?
come in.
17-inch foot, 17-inch shoe.
Yeah, he wears
oh my!
size 17. I call
Wow.
it skis.
Crazy.
Well, you know, at least he's got to have big feet to balance him out.
That's true. That's true.
That's
God
right.
made him. God made him perfect, didn't he? But absolutely, yeah. So yeah, we're excited. We've got so much talent coming in this year, and it's going to be a great event. We're in a new location, and this location is much nicer than the last place we were, and it's. I just think everybody's gonna like the accommodations that we have there and stuff. So, but and you bringing in, you know, the 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 films and of course, you know, the things from your husband's legacy and things like that. That's amazing, and we've got so many people that's talking about that, and you know, I'm like, wow, we should have got her to come years ago, you know.
Well, you know, I'll tell you, like I had said, Jim and I used to do 15 to 20 cons a year, and he eventually passed from Parkinson's, but we continued to do the cons. We just where we our territory got smaller and smaller because it was harder and harder for him to travel, and we'd go to the cons, and you know, I clearly you know what I'm talking about, and anybody who's gone to them knows what I'm talking about. You know, they're very, very taxing.
Yes.
You kind of have to be, as a celebrity. I say you have to be. You should be on. You know, I mean, people didn't get all the way there and pay money to get in and stand in line for you just to have you not look at them and hand them a picture. You know, I hate that. I hate that. And I just find that attitude so terrible because, you know, and I'll tell you a funny story, but you know, these are the fans that supported you. And so Jim didn't ever want to disappoint anybody. And so what he did was he would as he got to be more and more tired, he would pre-sign photos so that if somebody came up, I'm plugging in my computer here because it's going to die on me in a minute. Because when people came to the table, if he was just too exhausted and his little hand was shaking too much to sign, he would have the photos there. I'm plugging you in. Hope it doesn't go
No,
kaboom.
it's fun.
Oh, okay, good, yay. So that's how I ended up with so many pre-signed autograph photos. But I've run out of some. Of course, I've kept some, you know, for myself. But I've run out of some. But there aren't any more where those came from. Same thing with his autobiography, What and Give Up Show Business. He was able to sign uh, some books, and I've still got some of those signed books uh, that I'll bring as well. But
Yeah, I want to get some of that.
he loved his fans so much. But I'll tell you a funny story. He said whenever he kind of got, a little full of himself, he said God had a way of saying, yeah, not so fast. And he was at the grocery store, and he was, the way Jim shopped is he'd take the cart and he'd take it down to the end of the aisle, and he'd run up the aisle and he'd grab everything and bring it back to the cart and throw it in the cart. And so he was in a hurry and everything. And he was doing that. He noticed there was these two little old ladies at the end of the aisle, and they were looking and they were whispering and pointing at him. And he thought, oh no, they've recognized me. They're going to want an autograph. So he moved his cart down to the other end and went down the aisle and picked up stuff and went, and there they are. And so finally he's on the third aisle and he's getting his stuff, and he looks over and here they come. And he thought to himself, Hampton, you just need to get off your high horse. These are your fans. These are the people that come see your films and watch your television shows, and you need to take 5 minutes and be nice. And sure enough, these two little old ladies come up, and so Jim's just kind of lingering around the green beans, so give him time to get to him. And this one little old lady comes up to him, and as she's walking up, he's taking the pen out of his pocket to sign the autograph, and she says, young man. And he says, yes, ma'am. She says, you're pushing our cart. So he had grabbed the wrong cart. That's all they wanted. They had no idea who he was.
Oh my goodness.
He said, see? But he said that would happen occasionally. He'd think, well, hey, I'm a pretty successful guy. And then not so much.
Sometimes that has a way of bringing you back to reality, doesn't it?
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. He was at a friend of his. When I go to the cons, I love going because I see people that knew him. Some of them knew him before I did. And they've all had stories. And this one fellow told me a story about Jim also being in a grocery store. He's in the parking lot, and it was raining. And there was this little old lady she was struggling to get her groceries from her cart into her trunk, and the cart was rolling away, and there was a lot of traffic. So he jogged over and he said, can I help you? And she said, oh, yes, please. And so he ended up putting her groceries in her trunk. And when he was finished, he took the cart and he was walking away. He said, well, have a good day. And she said, I sure will. My kids will never believe that Ned Beatty helped me with my groceries.
Wow. Well, yeah, maybe there is a resemblance. Maybe.
They knew each other very well, and Ned confessed to him that people would walk up to him sometimes, say, "I loved you in The Longest Yard."
Right. That was a great movie.
It was.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you've been doing this acting and stuff for many years.
Yes.
Acting now in productions compared to acting 20 years ago, how has that changed? I mean, is it easier now than it was?
Well, I started in the late 80s. Lou Diamond Phillips was my first acting coach the year before he got La Bamba and left Dallas. And I saw him in January. I was at the Albuquerque Comic-Con, and he was appearing as well. And so our paths cross every once in a while. He is one of the nicest people you'll ever want to meet. But I'm a member of the Screen Actors Guild. And so there are rules as for productions on the number of hours you can work and the number of breaks you have, and et cetera, et cetera. The interesting thing that has happened over the last 30 years are all of the independent films and streaming shows, and there are just so many sources of production now. It's not just ABC, CBS, and NBC. And none of that was really there. HBO, I guess, when I started, and MTV, 1981, but and correct me if I'm wrong, it might be 1980. But I was there. But I think that that actors in general have a lot more opportunity, if you will, for work, because there are so many productions out there, and that's helpful to us. Um, the only the only thing is that you've got to be careful if you are not a member of SAG, and you don't have that umbrella of protection for yourself, the rules that the production has to go by. You need to be really careful, because there are some not so great folks out there who don't treat you well and who never pay you. And I've heard horror stories. But I've been fortunate. I joined SAG right away, and so I've not ever been in that circumstance. But now the big thing are verticals, and they're really quickly produced. I mean, like 22 episodes, and they all last like 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes. And you guys probably remember, back in the day where there were actually seasons, and they did 22 episodes of Bewitched or something, and then you watch reruns all summer, and then you were just waiting with bated breath until September, when all the new shows, the shows came back. And not so, you can sit there and binge watch stuff, and I don't know. I was having this conversation with another actor just weeks ago, and it's good, but also it somehow steals that feeling of anticipation, that we all had to live. Who shot JR? Now a lot of your listeners may not know who JR is, but you do. You guys know.
Yeah.
But it was that summer of who shot JR, and we don't. Everything is just like instant gratification now, and I don't know that that's always so great, but as an actor, there's a lot more opportunities, because of all the things that are out there that are being produced. But with that, you have to be mindful, certainly if you are not a part of a union, as to who you're going to go to work for. So,
Right. Wow. Yeah. Well, I guess over the years it's become a little more complicated. Then, of course, back in the when your husband was starting out and things like that, it was for that day. I guess it was a little bit harder, but there was so many people looking for people like that to fill roles and things, I think. And like when Elvis started in on movies and stuff, he's a great singer and stuff like that. Have I watched all of his movies? No, I don't know that I could. But yeah, it just kind of tells me that the industry back then was just in search mode. And now there some people like James Stokes. Are you familiar with him? He's gonna be at our con as well.
Oh, great.
And James, he was there last year, and that's Michael's buddy there. They kind of pout around there, but he was saying that some of his roles, that wasn't the easiest thing to come about, but it wasn't the hardest. So everything has a way of coming around, and it makes one big circle. What is that? The circle of life thing. So that always comes back to that, right? And so I could I get into the movie? No, even if I wasn't old and stuff like I am now, I don't know that I could even get back into, because I thought whenever I was doing the extra work that I may be doing this, and I got to meet Ricky Schroeder and Arnold
I'm
Schwarzenegger.
jealous. I always had a crush on Ricky Schroeder.
Yeah, Ricky, he was a great guy. He was. It's not one of those things where things didn't go to his head. Of course, I got to meet Drew Barrymore also, but she was a little kid,
Yeah.
at that point. But Arnold Schwarzenegger, those people like that, their early days, they weren't as nice as you would think that they were, and things like that. So, like seeing you and some of the roles and stuff, because I went and watched some of the stuff that you've done, and some of the things that I had seen your husband in, and of course Teen Wolf was a big one, and The Longest Yard was some of my favorites. The attitudes were different, and now people have a way different attitude.
I think what you're looking for is the word gratitude.
Yeah,
I think that rhymes with attitude, but it's the gratitude that I think is lacking in a lot of people that take for granted that their show is going to last forever, or the next movie is going to come along. You never know. And having said that, I just want to point out, you said, well, I don't know if I could, go into doing that. Listen, there are influencers on Broadway right now, and they want to fill the seats.
Sure.
And that, as an actor, that is off-putting, because you spend a lot of years, a lot of money, a lot of time working on your skills, and you pay your dues and everything like that, and somebody who's an influencer because they've got 2 million followers, suddenly they're going to get that role on Broadway, even though they have zero acting experience.
Yeah.
Or they're going to get the role in the commercial, or they're going to, and that is very, that makes me very unhappy. But it's what sells. And that, for a lot of production, that's what matters.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the quality of the actor. It's who can we put there that's going to fill our seats? Who can we put in this commercial that is going to influence people to buy our product? And it is no lie that when I fill out documents now for productions, there is a little spot where you're supposed to put all your social media handles. And I, without a doubt, I know they're going to go on there and they're going to see. And you talk to, I've sat in on casting workshops, and that question has come up a lot. Does it really, when casting something, does the network really look at your social media followers and like that? And, I think that what I believe, what I hope, is they look at the talent first.
Right.
And then they might have 3 people that they're picking, between, and then maybe it has something to do with it. I hate to think that's the only motivation behind hiring someone, but clearly there are instances you can turn on your TV and go to the theater and it's there, and that's sad. That's sad for us as actors, because we've worked so hard, and we've worked hard so that we make the production look good, not so that you're going to sell more product because I have a bikini on. I'm never going to sell anything in a bikini because nobody will ever want me in one. But so I don't have to worry about that. That's not my competition. But Anyway, so that's my 2 cents about that, and I hope people don't go to my social media and say mean things about me, but that's how I feel as an actor.
Right.
I can see that.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. And I can see where that makes it hard for you guys. You have to kind of double down and maybe get outside your comfort zone a little bit to capture some of those roles and things like that. And, it's so social media and things like that has kind of messed up things, in more ways than one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a blessing
Definitely.
and a curse.
Yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse. But and listen, I'm on social media. I try to post something on Instagram every morning that's funny or that is uplifting. And so I do, but I don't. I'm not somebody that gets on and every 5 minutes and says, a piece of kibble fell out of my dog's bowl. Look, here's a picture of the piece of kibble. I don't do that. I mean,
Right.
I don't have time to do that. But anyway, so yeah, it's a blessing and a curse, and I hope that I hope that, as I do believe now, that production really looks at talent first, and that things like social media following doesn't come into play up front. That's all I can hope for, because I think I have 3 followers. I don't know. I don't even know how many I have. But I've worked a lot this year, so
Talking about posting and things like that. My social media, I have several followers, but I don't post every day, and it's mainly Facebook. That I have Instagram and stuff too, but today I posted because something happened to me that I thought was a pivotal point in my life. My wife looked at me and she said, you were right. And I'm like, no, you didn't. You didn't tell me. Oh my God. So I started hollering at my phone, hey Google, remind me or put it in my calendar. My wife said on this date that I was right. And so I posted that on Facebook.
oh,
As a joke. And, but, things like that, I think are better than some of this other stuff that I see polluting social media and things. And why focus on the negative whenever you can, like you do, post a joke, something to bring somebody up instead of knocking them down.
I agree. There's enough negativity in the world. But I'm going to tell you a funny story. I'm going to tell you a story that you asked me about when we first talked. And Jim and I went to. I had said that Jim and I went on a couple of investigations together, and we did more than several horror sci-fi cons. And Jim was being interviewed by a journalist about coming to the con and what drew him to the con. And she asked him, she said, well, now, Mr. Hampton, have you ever had a paranormal experience? And of course, I'm sitting right next to him, and I hear him say, well, yes, I have. And I was like, oh, he had told me. So I'm listening intently to the story he is telling. And he said that when he was in college in 1957, he went to University of North Texas at the time. Now, let's see, it was North Texas State University then. It's University of North Texas now. But it was dry. Denton County was dry. So if you wanted to get booze, you had to drive 377 all the way to Fort Worth. And so his buddy had gotten a new convertible, and they hopped in, and it was Friday night, and they were going to go get some beer, and they drove all the way to Fort Worth. And on the way back, they put the top down, and Jim thought it'd be real funny to throw empty beer cans at the police station. So, and a couple of seconds later, so Bob pulls over, and Jim said, the policeman came over and said, "Did you throw those beer cans?" And he said Bob had an innocent face, and so they knew right away that it was Jim. And so they took him down, the judge, and the judge said, "Hampton, how much money do you have on you?" He said, "I got $11, sir." And he said, "Okay, that's your fine, but you got to do community service." And he said, "Okay, what do I have to do?" He says, "You got to mow the cemetery." And so he thought, I got off light. So the next day, he woke up and he'd sobered up, and he thought to himself, "Gosh, I don't want any of my buddies seeing me mowing the cemetery. I'll just wait till night." And so he had one of those round mowers, or the old push mowers that had the round barrel on them.
Yeah.
So he said about 11:30 at night, he sneaks down the cemetery with the lawn mower, and he's about 15 minutes into it. He said this police car comes up. Same policeman shines his light. He says, "Hampton, is that you?" And he said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "What are you doing out here?" He said, "I'm doing my community service." And he said there was a beat, and they started laughing. They said, "Get out of here." And he said he found out later that a woman who lived across the street from the cemetery had called the police and said, "There's a ghost in the cemetery, and you'll never guess what it's doing." And so he said, "I was the ghost in my own paranormal story." So that was the story where he was the
That's
ghost.
funny.
Yeah, ghost cutting grass. That's amazing.
You'll never guess what it's doing.
That is amazing. Absolutely. So you said earlier you were working on a new movie. Of course, we're not going to ask you what it is or anything like that, because I understand, you can't say those things. But so you look to be really busy in this movie. Is this going to be a long movie or a short movie, or?
I don't know. It's a funny movie.
Oh, okay, awesome.
I was
And
just
that's all.
going to ask
That's
that.
all. But it's good. It'll be good, y'all. Everybody will like it. Everyone will be happy. So I'm happy to be a part of it.
Good, good. I can't wait for that. So when people call you and want you to be in a movie,
Mhm.
is it that cut and dry sometimes, or do you always, like you were talking about your husband had to go down and do
Yeah. I have had two instances in my entire 30-year career where I haven't had to audition for something. Now, there's the the casting directors. Your agent goes through a list of they call them breakdowns that they get every day, and it shows the characters and their age and something about them and the show, and then your agent submits you for that role, and you might or might not get called. The fact that you get an audition is huge, because casting directors get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of submissions for each role. And so if you even get an audition for something, you have just flown by people that don't. And so you get your audition notice, and everything is self-taped now. That all started with COVID, and you want to talk about a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because you don't have to get in the car and drive to LA or drive to the casting office if it's pouring down rain, or when you do it in your home. And so the curse part of it is for me, because I am an older person. I'm not a techie person, but you have to basically be the cameraman, you have to be the lighting director, you have to be the editor, you have to be the other actor, you have to find props, you have to, all those things. Whereas before, you just walked into the casting office and stood there in front of the camera, and the casting director read with you, and you were done, and you walked away, and they did all of that. And during COVID, I did a show called Claws with Niecy Nash, and it was shot in New Orleans, and it ran for, I think, 5 or 6 seasons. And that was the first show that I did, I want to say after COVID. It was at the very, like, when production was just coming back. But boy, let me tell you, the protocols were crazy. Um, you were sequestered at a hotel. They gave you like an Amazon card, and you had to have your food brought in, and you had to go get tested. You had to come in like 3 days before and get tested, and then every day when you came to the studio, at the front gate, it was like, and then they would send that, you went to your trailer and you sat in your trailer, and if nobody came to get you in 15 minutes, then that meant you were clean, you were all right. In the old days, if your grips or your crew didn't have anything to do, they'd hang around and watch the filming. No, nobody but absolute essential people were allowed on the set. Craft services, you used to walk up to craft services and they'd have fresh fruit, and you just walk up and you pick up an apple and go, and then they'd have to wash it, but no, you had to stand 6 feet away from the craft service table and say, "I'd like some gum, please," or whatever it was you wanted. It was crazy. And I did a couple of episodes of that, but I have forgotten what you've asked me because about all the techie stuff. But that's when all of that started, was during COVID, and it became a lot easier for casting to go through submissions, because it takes time for a human being to come into the office. Hi, how are you? How are you? Okay, you ready? Okay, so let's just say every person is 5 minutes, but they're watching the audition on tape, and you're just like, and they can see more people. Now, the curse part of that for the actor is there's a lot more competition, because they can only bring in so many physically. Right. But they can watch, 100 tapes. But so that's changed things a lot as actors. The downside, I think, as well, for actors is that there's not an opportunity to ask a question. So sometimes you'll get scripts and they won't even have the real name of the show or the real name of the character. And so you get your audition sides, they call them, and it'll say, Justine and Katie sit across a dining table from each other. And then there's a conversation, and that's it. And you're thinking, well, who are these women? You're, as the actor, you're trying to break down the scene and say, what, and I hate that. What's my motivation? It's not like that. It's you're trying to figure out what is their relationship. So if you have a line, you can formulate in your head what their relationship is, who the person is they're talking about. But sometimes you don't know if it's a comedy or if it's a drama. But if you're what we call in the room with casting, you do your read, and then casting might say, and this happened to me on several occasions, that's great, but this is a comedy. Could you throw a little comedy? And you're like, oh, okay. Well, not so when there's not a live, casting director there to ask. And so you just kind of make a choice and do the best you can, with that choice. And I think if you deliver a good audition and you've done it as a comedy and it's a drama, they're still going to see your talent, there. But so it has changed a lot. And I personally miss the live one-on-one. Now, a lot of times they'll do your callbacks live. And I say live, they're, it's live, but it's on a screen. You don't go in, but, and I like those because you can ask questions if you have them.
Well, that's cool. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Did everybody stay awake during that? It's a long answer.
We're here.
Everybody still
Yeah.
awake?
I couldn't take my eyes off of things. So, but that's cool. You know, I like learning new things and learning how the process takes place. That's an awesome thing for me. It just goes in my library, if you will. Um, so, and we've got just a little bit of time. I got a question that if you were to stop acting today, what kind of legacy would you like to be known for?
I think that I would want, as an actress, I think I would want people um, to think of me and smile. You know, I think um, I would just want people, and I think that's the kind of legacy that Jim left, and I think it's wonderful. And when people think of your work, a role that you did, and they smile and they think to themselves, you know, she was really good in that, or you know, the movie was really good. She added to that television show, or whatever, and remember me for that. But I'm not going to quit, so you won't have
No,
to
don't.
remember me.
No, don't quit. Don't quit.
No.
I love the fact that you're basically saying you want someone to remember that you put a smile on their face that made them
Mhm.
happy, and
Mhm.
there needs to be more people in this world like that. So
Definitely.
Well, I mean, in general, I think just me as a person, not as an actor, I think I would want
yeah,
that same legacy, you know?
yeah, I would too. I maybe not so much now, but I probably wouldn't be known for that so much now. But the older I get, my wife says that I get um, I'm not going to use the words that she uses sometimes, but I get grumpy,
Grouchy,
grumpy, grouchy, grumpy. So, but yeah,
guilty.
yeah, guilty. I don't know about guilty, but grumpy for sure. So yeah, I would want the whole legacy thing to being able to put a smile on somebody's face.
Mhm.
That would be a cool thing to be remembered for. So, um, all right, so tell everybody where they can see you and all your social medias if you want them to follow you and things like that.
Well, let's see. On Instagram, I'm Mary Deese Hampton. I think I'm Mary Deese Hampton 1961. I think that's my Instagram account. Facebook, just look under Mary Deese Hampton. And, you know, you can go to IMDb, which is the International Movie Database, and it will
Yes.
list all the things I've been in, and you can find them streaming somewhere if you want to see an episode of something. Don't be shocked. I go back all the way back to um, uh, Fresh Prince of Bel Air, so
Yeah.
the original one, and Family Matters with Urkel. Who is now hosting a game show somewhere? It's just you know, I love it. I love it that he's still out there. But yeah, did I do that? But yeah. So just and then I have to say, I mean, if you are not familiar, you will be quickly. If you aren't familiar with my husband's name, you will be very familiar with his work if you look up James Hampton. He was everywhere.
Definitely.
He was the incredible edible egg man. Remember, he did a ton of commercials
Mhm.
and like that, and he was really a fine human being and a fine actor. So
Oh,
you
yeah, I agree with that for sure.
and come to the
Yeah.
show, and
They
I'll
have one
have
of
his autobiography, and I'll have his pre-signed photos. I'll have my photos, and I've got Harold and Kumar photos. So come see me.
I'm going to come to your table and yeah, I'm gonna get me some stuff.
You better.
I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
Michael, did you have anything that you wanted to ask her?
I was wanting to ask her, what kind of job did you do before you decided to become an actor?
I was a paralegal. I was a political science pre-law major in college, and I was going to go to law school. So I opted not to do that. But you know, that's yeah. So I use this side of my brain and this side of my brain, both sides. But yeah, that's what my degree was in.
Wow, that's awesome.
Cool.
Um, so
Well, I grew up watching, you know, Matlock and Perry Mason, and I actually auditioned for an episode of the new Matlock, and I thought, oh, how fun that would be. But yeah, I love all those, you know, I watch all the ID channel and forensic files, and I watch all. I just, you know, I mean, you don't look at me and go, gee, she really enjoys, you know, blood, guts, gore, and murder, but I do.
right, I can dig that too. I'm into all that as well. Yeah.
I just don't understand how, with everything we have at our fingertips, science-wise, that they can't figure stuff out, you know, and sometimes, you know, watching those old cold case files, it's just human error, you know, they miss something.
Very much so. See, when I was in college, that's how I learned forensic photography, and that's, you know, I wanted to be a firefighter, which I did. I was a paramedic for a bunch of years, and
Oh, wow.
yeah, I was you know, I had a science degree, and so science is my thing, and you know, we have a paranormal team, and I kind of throw everybody into a science ordination, you know. So, but learning the forensic photography, that was, even though I seen some really hideous things, you know, that was probably one of the best things I ever done. And in fact, I'm going to be doing the photography at our event too. So,
Oh, wow.
y'all get ready. I'm going to put y'all in some weird positions, you know.
Okay.
So,
Can't wait.
but yeah, so I get that, and you know, you have the education and stuff to fall back on, but it seems like you've made a very successful run.
Well, thank you. And I'm still running. I'm still running.
Please do continue,
Thank you.
because we're going to keep watching.
Well, I can't wait to see you guys in about a month, you
Yes,
know.
ma'am.
So
month.
I'm
A month
excited about
today.
that. And this has been fun. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on and
Glad to have you.
yeah,
Thank you.
putting up with our craziness.
Oh, well, thanks for putting up with me. I go off one direction or another. I'm like a, you know, what is it? A gerbil. You know, it's like I'm a squirrel.
You were fantastic. Thank you very
Well,
much.
thank you. Thank you. And I'll see you soon.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
All right.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching Smoke, and we invite you back next Wednesday. Not exactly sure what we'll get into, but you know, it'll be in the smoke.
We'll
So,
find something.
That's right. It'll be all in be in the smoke. So, but we want to thank Mary Hampton for being our guest. And
You are so welcome.
yes, ma'am. And everybody come out to Deep South Para-comi-con, August 8th and 9th at the Enterprise Civic Center, Enterprise, Alabama. And I always do this during the show. Michael, tell me what the August 8th and 9th dates has to do other than the con. What's important about those dates?
That's the same dates that the Manson murders took place.
Yeah, so
Even better.
yeah, absolutely. So everybody come out. We have some people there that can talk about the Manson murders. So y'all come out,
Yep.
see us, have some great food, meet Mary, buy some books, get some stuff, give her a hug. I don't know if you hug.
Come on and give me a hug. I'm a hugger.
All right. So
Do you like Southern food?
Oh my gosh. Yes. My grandmother was from North Carolina. My mother was from South Korea. So yes,
there you
Southern
go.
is in my blood on
Yeah.
both sides.
Well, good. We're gonna have some Southern cooking, food trucks galore. So, but anyway, everybody, y'all get ready for a great event. Y'all come out and meet Mary.
See you there.
Yes, ma'am. You have a great night. Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye bye.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right, Michael. I'll see you on the flip side.
Alrighty.
Yeah! has been